Johnny, me out to
There's nothing like a day at the yard without the classic Big Three ballpark foods. Peanuts, Cracker Jacks, and of course, hot dogs launched at high velocities into the crowd. But there's one food that Harry Carey and his compatriots forgot. A humble food that has helped minor leaguers become major leaguers for generations. It's a food that those of us on the inside know all too well, epitomizing the struggle that is minor league baseball. And that sacred, abbreviated food, about which a song will never be sung, is the PB&J.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home.
In 2010, my first year of pro baseball, this was where I slept. Now I know what you're thinking, but no, it wasn't that bad. I had a retractable roof, plenty of ventilation when I needed it, fireproof walls. All right, I didn't actually sleep in a dumpster, but if you looked at my meager paycheck, you'd have rightly assumed that, well, sleeping in a dumpster was pretty much all I could afford. Actually, this is where I lived, 716 Claridge CC Court. I had an amazing host family named Denny and Dory. They've since moved to Florida, but without them, there's just no way I could have made it on the meager salary that I was paid. £10 of peanut butter, that ought to do it. So my first salary was this, $255.10, and that was my take home for each paycheck on a $600 per month salary. And to be clear, that's from the Frontier League, which is an independent professional league. That being said, let's look at salaries from the MLB farm system. So looking here, in rookie and short season A, you'll typically make $1,100 a month, Class A, $1,250, Double A, $1,500, and the highest level of the minor leagues, a paltry $2,150 per month, which comes out to a little over $25,000 a year, if you are paid for 12 full months, which players are not.
With your guns and drums and drums and guns, haroo, haroo. With your guns and drums and guns, haroo, haroo. With your guns and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, my darling dear, you look so queer. Oh, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Where are your legs that used to run? Haroo, haroo. Where are your legs that used to run? Haroo, haroo. Where are your legs that used to run when first you went to carry a gun? Oh, I fear your dancing days are done.
Okay, so you're probably asking yourself, well, there's a lot of cheap foods, but what's the deal with PB&J? And the answer is pretty simple. Really, it's just that in any minor league baseball clubhouse, there's just a table, and on it for pregame food, there's usually a white bread and a wheat bread loaf sitting next to a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly. There's some plastic forks, and that's pretty much it. And that's your pregame food in almost every clubhouse around the country. And when you eat 150 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a summer, you learn that there's a right way and a wrong way to make one. So we will go over the rules at this time. So as you can see, this is how much peanut butter came out of the jar for that one sandwich. It's like 2 big tablespoons is what I'm assuming. So be generous, it's probably a 1/16 of an inch. Ratios are everything. And whoever made this extrusion cap is an American patriot. He's a hero. He or she is a hero. I do not want to make this gender specific. Ma'am or sir, if you made this you are an American hero. Dealing with transfer of knife from jelly to peanut butter and peanut butter to jelly is a fool's errand. It's the worst. And this is the absolute best way that's ever been invented to make a peanut butter and jelly and get your jelly right. I think 2 strips is all you need at a normal pressure. You don't have to squeeze the crap out of it. Typical pressure, let the cap do the work. Okay, so I'm gonna go over my 2 rules for peanut butter. Rule number 1, this is Skippy, this is Jif, and this is our good old friend Peter Pan in his 6-pound jar. Now, all of these are the same. They are not natural, they are not healthy, they are just peanut butter. Don't make this more than it is. Don't buy that natural peanut butter stuff. Don't tell me that you like it better, because you don't. You're just lying to yourself and me. Just get the standard unhealthy peanut butter and just live with it, okay? That's rule number 1, never get natural. Rule number 2, you can go creamy, you can go crunchy. It doesn't matter. Rule number 2 is do you, okay? So whatever peanut butter and jelly you wanna make it. However, there is one major jelly rule, and that is grape only. If you don't eat your peanut butter and jelly with grape, then I just simply don't trust you. We could argue till the cows come home, but it's peanut butter and grape jelly.
77.
And it's no secret anymore. The cat's out of the bag that minor league wages are, well, pretty much a disgrace. And I think this tweet from sports writer Emily Walden pretty much sums it up. The idea that ball players are working a mere 40 hours a week when traveling on 12-hour bus rides at the field from 2:30 to 11 every night, it's just absurd. So to put them in this box of 40-hour work weeks while paying them $1,200 a month doesn't seem very fair. And she's referring to a class action lawsuit created by a number of ex-minor leaguers who allege that Major League Baseball is breaking minimum wage laws by paying them too little for the hours that they work. And so the peanut butter and jelly has continued to be the symbol of minor league existence. It's the struggle of low pay, of long bus rides, of long seasons, of hot days in August. It's a microcosm of minor league life. Here's my thing though. So when I look back at my playing career, I don't feel bitter that I made no money at all. I don't feel, and I didn't feel then, that I got mistreated. I didn't feel like I was a victim. You know, with all this stuff, we have the ability to look at it in whatever perspective we want. And I think I have a unique point of view because I've done things in my personal life, in my business life, that I think helped me reframe the situation. So when I look at the minor league wage situation, yeah, I definitely think future ball players, I hope future ball players get paid better than I did. I hope they're well taken care of. You know, you hear about companies like Southwest Airlines, how they take good care of their employees. There's so many others that treat their employees with respect. But one thing I've learned as a guy who's always been kind of entrepreneurial is that there's a lot of unpaid work that goes into building something great, whether it's a business, whether it's your career as an athlete. And that's not to excuse necessarily the behavior of big businesses to perhaps take advantage of employees. But for me, I always just tended to reframe it that I was doing what I loved, and it was just the struggle was part of what made it great, that we were kind of in like this foxhole gritting it out together. And so when I look at the minor league wage situation, I'm proud of what the guys are doing, filing a lawsuit and trying to make things better for future generations. But it doesn't change the way I feel about my career with peanut butter and jelly. And the way I see it, there's 2 ways to look at the situation, and that's through the eyes of an employee or through the eyes of an entrepreneur. And depending on how you reframe it, you can feel very different about the situation. First, we could have an employee mindset, here represented by the Skippy peanut butter, and an employee rightfully wants to be paid for every hour he or she works, but his or her earning potential is significantly lower and capped by the fact that there's no long-term bigger payoff. An employee works for someone else, and as such, is ultimately making them rich. And then we have the entrepreneur who works lots and lots and lots of unpaid hours for some larger long-term payoff. You know, this is the startups of the world where founders take a meager salary at first, but end up making millions or billions when their company finally hits it big, selling a product that millions and millions of people want. So the entrepreneur understands that there's lots of unpaid work now that will then pay off in a big way later. So what's the verdict? How should we feel? What mindset's correct? Well, I think either mindset could be completely justified, and each of us is entitled to feel our own way about our own career. But I think we'd all agree that what Tom Hanks' character said in A League of Their Own is correct. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And for me, with every year that passes, I look back at the struggle with just a little bit more fondness. And until minor league wages improve, innocent peanut butter and jelly sandwiches will march off to the slaughter at the hands of penny-pinching ball players everywhere.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. And we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home.